The neon glow of the 1980s bathed the streets of Police Academy, a film that turned bumbling misfits into comedy legends. Beneath its slapstick surface lies a treasure trove of oddities, quirks, and forgotten stories that shaped this iconic franchise. Let's dive into the chaos of its creation, the secrets behind its characters, and the unexpected legacy it left behind. Number 1. The real-life inspiration behind the Academy. Before Police Academy became a cinematic staple, it was born from a real-world observation. Screenwriter Neil Israel was visiting San Francisco when he stumbled upon a peculiar sight: a group of wildly unqualified police recruits being drilled at a local academy. Their incompetence was almost cartoonish, tripping over batons, fumbling with paperwork, and barely grasping basic protocol. Israel was struck by the absurdity of these would-be cops, some of whom seemed better suited for a comedy club than a precinct. This sparked the idea for a film about a ragtag group of recruits let loose in a system desperate for bodies. The city in the movie is never named, but its roots trace back to San Francisco's unconventional approach to filling police shortages in the late 1970s, when relaxed hiring standards let almost anyone try their hand at law enforcement. That real-life policy of lowering barriers for recruits became the film's central premise, giving us characters like Odder Than Odd. It's a bizarre truth that the movie's foundation is grounded in a slice of reality too wild to believe. Number 2. Steve Guttenberg's accidental stardom. Steve Guttenberg, the face of Carrie Mahoney, wasn't the first choice for the role. The production team initially eyed bigger names like Michael Keaton and Tom Hanks, who were on the cusp of fame in 1984. Guttenberg, a relatively unknown actor at the time, landed the part almost by chance. His agent pushed him for the role after a string of minor TV appearances, and director Hugh Wilson saw something in his easygoing charm during a low-key audition. Guttenberg's chemistry with the ensemble cast became the heart of the film, but his casting was a gamble that paid off. He improvised many of Mahoney's sarcastic quips, drawing from his own quick wit, which gave the character a relatable edge. Off-screen, Guttenberg was a prankster, often sneaking whoopee cushions onto set to keep the mood light. His lack of ego meshed perfectly with the film's underdog spirit, but it's wild to think how close we came to a completely different Mahoney. The role launched Guttenberg into an 80s icon, but it was a fluke of fate that he even got the chance. Number 3. The sound effects were a character of their own. If Police Academy feels like a live-action cartoon, credit goes to its exaggerated sound effects. From the squelching of wet shoes to the cartoonish boings during pratfalls, the audio design was deliberately over the top. Sound editor John L. Anderson, a veteran of Looney Tunes cartoons, was brought in to give the film its distinctive slapstick flair. Anderson spent hours in the studio crafting custom sounds like dropping wet rags for squishy footsteps or using a spring-loaded contraption for comedic punches. The iconic mouth noises of Cadet Larvell Jones, played by Michael Winslow, were entirely improvised. Winslow, a stand-up comedian with a knack for vocal mimicry, ad-libbed most of his sound effects, including the machine gun noises and siren wails. The crew gave him free rein after his first take blew them away, and his improvisations became a franchise hallmark. These sounds weren't just filler, they were meticulously layered to amplify the film's chaotic energy, making every gag hit harder than it would have on visuals alone. Number 4. The Blue Oyster Bar was a last-minute addition. The Blue Oyster Bar, the recurring gay bar gag that's both a product of its time and a controversial element today, wasn't in the original script. During pre-production, the writers needed a punchline for scenes where characters needed to be thrown into an absurdly uncomfortable situation. A location scout stumbled across a Toronto leather bar that fit the bill, and the idea was born. The bar's over-the-top aesthetic leather-clad patrons' disco lights in a campy vibe was played for laughs, reflecting 80s attitudes that haven't aged well. The set was built from scratch with exaggerated props like oversized cowboy hats and chains to lean into the stereotype. Despite its brief screen time, The Blue Oyster became a fan favorite, spawning its own theme music that reappeared in sequels. Filming those scenes was a riot, with extras reportedly having a blast hamming it up. Still, the gag's inclusion was a spontaneous choice added just weeks before shooting, proving how much of the film's humor was built on last-minute whims. Number 5. The Toronto Connection. Though Police Academy feels quintessentially American, it was shot almost entirely in Toronto, Canada. The city's mix of gritty urban streets and modern police facilities made it a perfect stand-in for the unnamed city in the film. The old Lakeshore Psychiatric Hospital doubled as the academy, its imposing brick exterior giving the perfect backdrop for the recruits' chaos. Toronto's diverse neighborhoods provided locations for everything from the chase scenes to the Blue Oyster Bar. Shooting in Canada was also a budget saver, lower production costs, and a favorable exchange rate stretched the film's modest $4.5 million budget. Local extras filled out crowd scenes, and some even snuck in unscripted lines in Canadian accents, which were quietly edited out to keep the setting vague. The cast and crew stayed in a downtown Toronto hotel where late-night pranks like Guttenbergs whoopee cushions kept morale high. It's a weird twist that a film so tied to American pop culture was crafted north of the border, a secret hidden in plain sight. Number 6. The stuntman who became a star. George Gaines, who played the bumbling Commandant Lassard, wasn't an actor by trade. He was a stuntman with a knack for physical comedy. Gaines had done uncredited stunt work in action films throughout the 70s, but Police Academy was his breakout. His casting came after a chance meeting with director Hugh Wilson, who saw Gaines trip over a prop during a stunt rehearsal and thought his natural clumsiness was perfect for Lassard. Gaines leaned into the role, improvising moments like the podium mishap where he gets tangled in microphone cords. His stunt background informed the physicality of the character, making Lassard's distracted demeanor feel authentic. Off-camera, Gaines was a mentor to younger actors, sharing stories of leaping off buildings for earlier gigs. At 67 during filming, he was the cast's elder statesman, yet he performed his own stunts, including the chaotic parade scene. It's wild to think a stuntman's accidental charm shaped one of the film's most memorable characters. Number 7. The censorship battle. Police Academy's raunchy humor nearly earned it an R rating, which would have tanked its box office potential. The MPAA flagged several scenes, including Mahoney's crude pranks and the infamous podium scene where a hooker's antics under Lassard's desk pushed boundaries. Director Hugh Wilson fought tooth and nail to keep the film PG, arguing its humor was juvenile, not malicious. The team cut just enough trimming, a few suggestive lines, and toning down nudity to secure the rating. Censors were particularly touchy about the Blue Oyster Bar scenes, worried they'd offend audiences, but the filmmakers argued the absurdity diffused any real controversy. Test screenings proved them right. Audiences roared at the gags, not caring about the edge. The battle was so intense that the final cut was submitted just days before release. That PG rating was a make-or-break moment, letting Police Academy reach the wide audience that turned it into a 150 million global hit. Number 8. The sequels weren't planned. Police Academy was never meant to spark a franchise. The film was greenlit as a one-off comedy, with Warner Brothers expecting a modest return on its $4.5 million budget. But when it grossed over $80 million domestically, the studio scrambled to capitalize. The first sequel, Police Academy 2, their first assignment was rushed into production within months, reusing the same Toronto locations to save costs. The original script was self-contained, with no cliffhangers or setups for future stories, so writers had to invent new arcs for characters like Mahoney and Tackleberry. The sequel's repetitive formula, more pranks, more chaos, was a direct response to audience love for the original's gags. By the time the seventh film hit in 1998, the series had stretched far beyond its humble origins. It's bizarre to think a low-budget lark about misfit cops birthed a sprawling franchise, all because test audiences couldn't stop laughing at the first film's absurd energy. Number 9. The animatronic pigeon. One of the film's weirder gags involves a pigeon that lands on Commandant Lassard's head during a speech. That bird wasn't real. It was an animatronic puppet crafted by a special effects team fresh off E.T. the Extraterrestrial. The pigeon was a last-minute addition when a scene needed a visual punchline. The effects crew built it in 48 hours using lightweight foam and remote-controlled servos to make it blink and swivel. The puppet was so convincing that some cast members didn't realize it was fake until after the take. Guttenberg reportedly cracked up so hard he ruined multiple shots. The bird's brief appearance took disproportionate effort. 3 technicians hit off camera to operate it, and the prop broke twice during filming. It's a testament to the film's commitment to absurdity that a robotic pigeon became a memorable moment, proving no detail was too small to milk for laughs. Number 10. Kim Cattrall's breakout role. Kim Cattrall's turn as Cadet Karen Thompson was her first major film role, setting her on the path to stardom. Fresh off theater work, Cattrall auditioned on a whim after a friend tipped her off about the project. She nailed the role of the straight-laced recruit by playing against type, channeling a prim demeanor that contrasted her later sultrier roles like Sex and the City's Samantha. Cattrall improvised subtle reactions like her exasperated eye rolls at Mahoney's flirting that gave Thompson depth beyond the script's thin and outline. Offset, she bonded with Guttenberg over their shared status as newcomers, and the two rehearsed lines in a Toronto diner late at night. The film's success opened doors for Cattrall, but she's since distanced herself from the franchise, citing its juvenile humor as a mixed blessing. It's strange to think her poised performance in a goofy comedy laid the groundwork for a career defined by bold, iconic characters. Number 11. The budget stretched to the limit. Police Academy was made on a shoestring budget of $4.5 million, a fraction of what major comedies cost in 1984. By audition in 1984. Every dollar was squeezed to the max. Sets like the Academy's training grounds were recycled from an abandoned Toronto hospital, saving thousands. Costumes were mostly off-the-rack police surplus, with badges made from spray-painted plastic. The film's car chase scenes used beat-up sedans bought cheap from a local lot, and most stunts were done by the cast to avoid hiring extras. The production team even skipped catering some days, with actors grabbing hot dogs from street vendors between takes. Despite the constraints, clever editing and sound design gave the film a polished feel. The crew's resourcefulness paid off when the film grossed over 30 times its budget, proving you don't need big bucks to make big laughs. It's wild to think a film this cheap became a cultural juggernaut. Number 12. Michael Winslow's one-man sound studio. Michael Winslow, a.k.a. Larvell Motormouth Jones, was a sound effects wizard whose talents defined the film's auditory chaos. A stand-up comic with a gift for mimicry, Winslow could replicate everything from gunfire to squealing tires using only his voice. His audition consisted of 5 minutes of non-stop noises, jet engines, doorbells, even a kazoo-like rendition of a police siren. The director gave him carte blanche to improvise, and Winslow delivered, recording most of his effects live on set. He layered up to 20 distinct sounds per scene, often in a single take using a cheap microphone rigged by the sound team. Off-camera, he entertained the cast by mimicking their voices, once fooling Guttenberg into thinking his lines were being dubbed. Winslow's skills were so integral that the sequels were built around his gags. It's mind-boggling that one man's vocal cords became a cornerstone of the film's cartoonish charm. Number 13. The ad-libbed classroom scene. The classroom scene where Mahoney tricks Cadet Blankus into shouting profanities was almost entirely improvised. The script called for a generic prank, but Guttenberg suggested escalating it with a string of absurd insults. He and actor Brant von Hoffman Blankies riffed off each other, with von Hoffman ad-libbing his outraged reactions. The crew shot the scene in one take, unable to stop laughing long enough for retakes. Director Hugh Wilson kept the cameras rolling, knowing the raw energy was gold. The profanity was toned down in post-production to secure the PG rating, but the scene's anarchic spirit survived. Extras in the background, actual Toronto locals, were told to react naturally, and their genuine laughter made the cut. It's a bizarre testament to the film's loose vibe that one of its funniest moments was born from actors riffing on a whim. Number 14. The riot scene's real danger. The climactic riot scene where recruits face a mob was riskier than it looked. Filmed on a Toronto backlot, the sequence used over 100 extras, many of whom got carried away throwing prop bottles and debris. A few stunt performers took real bruises when the crowd's energy surged beyond the choreography. The scene was shot in a single night to save costs with minimal rehearsals, which added to the chaos. Pyrotechnics for the burning cars malfunctioned twice, nearly singeing actors like G.W. Bailey, Lieutenant Harris. The crew used real fire extinguishers to douse flames between takes, and one extra was briefly hospitalized for smoke inhalation. Despite the mishaps, the raw intensity made the scene feel visceral, capturing the recruits' incompetence perfectly. It's wild that a comedy's big set piece came so close to real disaster, yet the danger only amplified the on-screen mayhem. Number 15. The soundtrack's surprise hit. The Police Academy's soundtrack, with its cheesy synth beats and brass-heavy theme, was a last-minute rush job. Composer Robert Folk had just 2 weeks to score the film after the original composer dropped out. Working out of a tiny Toronto studio, Folk leaned into 80s cliches, think bright trumpets and pulsing electronic drums to match the film's goofy tone. The main theme, now iconic, was written in a single night, inspired by folk-watching dailies of the parade scene. The Blue Oyster Bar's disco track was a tongue-in-cheek nod to Saturday Night Fever thrown in as a gag. The soundtrack wasn't expected to sell, but it charted briefly in 1984, driven by fans who couldn't get the theme out of their heads. Folk later said he was stunned. A throwaway score became a cultural touchstone. It's odd to think a Rush soundtrack became as recognizable as the film itself. Number 16. The prank war on set. The set of Police Academy was a hotbed of practical jokes reflecting the film's anarchic spirit. Steve Guttenberg was the ringleader, planting whoopee cushions and fake spiders in cast trailers. G.W. Bailey retaliated by rigging Guttenberg's chair with a hidden buzzer that zapped him during a quiet scene. Kim Cattrall got in on it, slipping hot sauce into craft services coffee as revenge for a water balloon ambush. The crew wasn't immune. Cameramen found their lenses smeared with Vaseline one morning, courtesy of Michael Winslow. Director Hugh Wilson encouraged the chaos, believing it fueled the cast's chemistry. One prank involving a fake snake in a toilet delayed shooting for an hour while Bailey stopped cursing. These antics kept morale high during long Toronto nights, and the cast's real camaraderie bled into their performances. It's bizarre that a film about misfits was made by a crew pulling juvenile gags worthy of the script. Number 17. The poster's hidden joke. The Police Academy poster, with its badge and nightstick imagery, hides a subtle gag. The artist hired at the last minute slipped a tiny cartoonish face into the badge's design, a winking nod to the film's absurdity. Most viewers missed it, but sharp-eyed fans spotted the face, which resembles a grinning Mahoney. The poster was rushed to meet marketing deadlines, and the studio didn't notice the addition until after printing. It became a quiet in-joke among the crew, who loved that their anarchic spirit snuck into the film's branding. The design also used a bold yellow font to scream comedy, a choice made to stand out on crowded theater marquees. That hidden face, barely visible without a magnifying glass, is a weird reminder of how the film's humor permeated every detail, even its advertising. Number 18. The deleted love scene. A romantic subplot between Mahoney and Thompson was filmed but cut for pacing. The scene, shot in a Toronto park, showed the two sharing a quiet moment after a training mishap, with Guttenberg and Cattrall playing it straight for once. Test audiences found it too sentimental, clashing with the film's relentless gags, so it was axed. The footage was lost when a studio intern misplaced the reels, leaving only script pages as evidence. Cattrall later said she was relieved, as the scene felt forced and out of character. Guttenberg disagreed, thinking it gave Mahoney depth, but the director sided with the laughs. The cut shifted the film's focus to pure comedy, a choice that defined its tone, but left Mahoney and Thompson's chemistry underdeveloped. It's strange to imagine Police Academy with a heartfelt moment now lost to a clerical error. Number 19. The real cops on set. Real Toronto police officers were hired as consultants to ensure the film's procedures had a veneer of authenticity. They coached actors on basic drills and baton twirling, though most of their advice was ignored to heighten the comedy. One officer, a grizzled veteran, doubled as an extra in the parade scene, barking orders with such conviction that he nearly stole the shot. Off-camera, the cops swapped stories with the quaist, sharing tales of their own rookie blunders that inspired some of the film's gags. They also taught Michael Winslow how to mimic authentic siren sounds, which he exaggerated for laughs. The officers found the script hilarious, but warned the crew not to make police look too incompetent. Their presence grounded the film just enough to keep it from veering into pure farce. It's wild that real cops helped shape a movie that lovingly mocks their profession. From lunatic asylums to riot predictions, Police Academy is more than just a comedy. It's a wild ride of weirdness that captured hearts and defied critics. These 20 facts reveal the chaos behind the laughs, proving this 1984 classic is as unpredictable as its misfit cadets. If you loved this deep dive, give us a thumbs up, share it with your fellow comedy fans, and subscribe for more cinematic secrets. Hit that bell icon to stay in the ranks, and drop a comment on which fact shocked you most. Until next time, move it, and keep laughing.